Alright, gotta check out some mail here. Oh yeah, it's 2020 finally. That's great. What is this? I wonder what this is. What does this say? Good thing I got my 2020 vision glasses. Glad nobody heard that. I guess I don't need these anymore.
Hi guys, wow. We are here. We are here. We're gonna be talking about our worst movies of the year. Thankfully this year was really good for movies, really great. But then like you have all these movies on this list is really just way down at the bottom, some terrible movies.
And most of the movies we have on this list, I think there's only like one or two that we don't have reviews for, but most of them we do have reviews for. So I'll put the links in the description to those reviews if you want to check those out.
Yeah. Also, just a few disclaimers. Obviously, we haven't seen every movie this year. We haven't seen all the bad movies. If there's like a bad movie that you're like, why was it on their list? Well, it's because we probably didn't see it. We never got to see movies like Replica, What Men Want, The Kitchen, 47 Meters Down on Cage or Countdown.
Yeah.
I've heard those were terrible. But we never actually got around to seeing those movies. Also, just a big warning, we are gonna go over some spoilers over all these movies. So if you don't want any of these movies spoiled for you, you can click on this time right here, or go to this time, and we will have the entire list on this video for you to look at, just in case you don't want any of it spoiled for you. Also, before we start this off, we actually combined our list together. We compromised a few things just so we can have a real quick list, a real short list on our worst movies, because it's easier for us to kind of compromise our decisions on our worst list than it is on our good list. Also, there is one movie that we may lose some subscribers for.
Yeah.
Okay? We may get some, I mean, if we were more popular anyways, we may get some angry comments in this comment section because our dishonorable mention is pretty controversial.
Yeah, it's pretty universally loved.
Yeah, we will explain it. So for our dishonorable mention, we are going to do Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino beloved movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Everybody loves this movie, and it seems like the reasons why people like this movie are the reasons why we don't like this movie, which is, it seems like he's trying to just do a relaxed movie, which I have no problem with at all. There's movies like Call Me By Your Name, where it just seems like you're watching somebody do stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But there is in that movie there is like a story kind of slightly woven through Call Me By Your Name.
Or even like Lady Bird.
Yeah,
That's exactly. Another one where it's just like her living her life.
Yeah.
But there's like growth, there's like character arcs, there's stuff happening.
Yeah, exactly. And especially like in Call Me By Your Name, which is the one I like to bring up because it's not as obvious while you're watching it, but after a while you're like, you know what, there was a very slight storyline, there was very slight character growth, but it's there and it's enjoyable.
And I honestly feel like if this movie stayed exactly the same and nothing changed except for Quentin Tarantino's name wasn't attached to it, I honestly don't think as many people would have loved it as much as they say they do.
Yeah.
I still think people will have still loved it, but I don't think as many people, because like I said, it's like universally loved. I haven't seen a single person other than us two that said they didn't like it. Well, and Brittany.
Yeah, because there's no story, there's no character growth, there's really not anything to it.
I will say the end scene is pretty great.
Yeah.
I will give that credit, but I feel like the entire movie was made just for that one scene.
Yeah.
And like they didn't do anything else with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and that's all I wanted to say about this movie. So we're going to actually get into our list. So for our number 10, we picked Escape Room, which is a movie I actually enjoyed it more than I thought it was going to. But overall, it's really not that great of a movie. It's kind of, there's a lot of movies that have come out here recently that I feel like are movies where they started off with a title and it's sometimes some kind of game.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's do something crazy with it. Let's make a movie that's creepy like this, or Truth or Dare.
Yeah.
Stuff like
or
that.
Ready or Not, which was actually surprisingly kind of good.
Yeah.
Compared to these other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one it ended up just feeling like a knockoff of the Saw movies.
Mm-hmm.
For our number 9, we have Hellboy. Now this movie probably could have been higher up on the list, but it is one of those enjoyable bad movies.
Yeah.
That you just there's so much things that are going on in this movie that it's hard to say that's written well, but it really is really enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, especially near the end, whenever people are just getting killed like insanely.
Right, left and right, just for no reason.
Yeah, like there's this monster walking around, just like stepping through people and just like ripping people in half. It's just kind of insane. And a lot of this movie is just it's really bad. It's pretty badly written.
Yeah.
You know, it's really not that funny whenever it tries to be funny. But overall, it is kind of enjoyable, but it's just a bad movie. Also, I do want to say one thing. It sounds like we're giving these movies a little too many compliments, but David Harbour actually does really good in this movie. I've seen a lot of people bring up the fact like, oh, David Harbour was terrible. He was actually really good. He was just in a bad movie.
Part of it.
Yeah. Our number 8 is Brightburn. This is one of these movies where I really think my opinion has changed about it. Because before, I probably wouldn't have it put on either list. You know, but after really thinking about it, it's really not that great. You know, you start off, you know, obviously it's this thing of like, it's a really cool kind of like kind of something to pull you in, which is like Superman if he was evil, you know,
right.
Something like that. But whenever you get into it, there's a lot of stuff that really doesn't make any sense. I can't remember what the video was, but there's a video I watched that talked about some of the things that's really irritating in this movie is that nobody talks. Nobody talks to each other. You have parents that don't talk to their child about certain things they need to talk to each other about.
Yeah.
You know?
And also there's the whole reason why he becomes evil. Well, not the whole reason, but a big reason why he becomes evil is because the spaceship he comes down in like kind of talks to him. But they don't really explain what's all going on there.
It's something that would have been kind of cool to put in the movie of something like a struggle. Something that actually probably would have made the movie good, like a struggle within this boy's self, because he didn't grow up to be evil.
Right.
He never had any hints of being evil. He just became evil one day. Like he like went to his spaceship and like, I'm gonna start killing people randomly. And so there's never a growth to him being evil. He just becomes evil. And so therefore there's no inner conflict. Until the very end, he says like a line like,
I want to be good.
or something like that. And then he kills his mom. You know? And it's like, it's a lot of things that really, honestly, this movie could have been really good. They just didn't execute anything right.
For our number 7, we have The Dead Don't Die. Now, this was a really disappointing movie for me because I was really looking forward to this.
Same here.
Because it had Bill Murray and Adam Driver, and it was a zombie comedy, which had a lot of ingredients to be great.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Adam Driver and Bill Murray were pretty great in it, but it just really fell flat with it. It was another movie where it felt like nothing was really going on. And I could see hints of genius in the comedy, but it really never really capitalized on a lot of it.
Yeah.
It just felt like they were trying to make it as slow as it could have been, and it didn't really come off right.
Yeah, and they bring in a lot of characters in this movie that really don't add anything to the story. There's characters that they bring, like Selena Gomez and all of her friends. They come in, then they die, like the next scene they're in.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have Tilda Swinton's character.
Oh,
He
yeah.
turns out to be randomly like an alien.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a movie where they really were just throwing ideas out on the board and just like put all of them in one movie. You know, but never really add any like substance or anything that actually felt like anything was going on. And I really feel like if this movie did focus on Adam Driver and Bill Murray and still had the same style of humor, it would have been a lot better. Our number 6 is The Fanatic, and this is a movie that's directed by the lead singer of Limp Bizkit.
You okay with some music? You like a little Limp Biscuit?
Sure.
You like a little biscuit?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh my God, that is nice. That is nice.
Yeah, and this movie is John Travolta. If you haven't heard, I think I read somewhere this movie actually went for an Oscar campaign.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this movie, honestly, I'd recommend watching. It's one of those movies that's really bad, but it's so funny.
I wish Freddy Krueger would come and chop off your head, and it would roll in the street, and a truck would squish it, and the blood would splatter everywhere, and everyone would watch it.
Some of the ways he did stuff, it's just like, why? Why do you gotta do that? Like his first line in the movie is,
I can't talk too long. I gotta poo.
It seemed like a movie that really was trying to get John Travolta, but it's like, we want John Travolta, but we want him to act like he's Nicolas Cage.
yeah,
You know,
right.
and it really just seemed like that kind of movie. Which honestly, it seems like John Travolta's going that route in general.
Yeah. Our number 5, we have Pet Sematary. Now this is another Stephen King adaptation that we're getting a lot of nowadays, and it just really came off really bland. There wasn't really much flair to it, much style to it, and really even the original, a big problem I had with Pet Sematary is I feel like it doesn't really work as a full-length movie.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be much better as a short movie because it really feels like there's only one big thing that happens in the movie, and it's stretched out to like 2 hours or however long this movie is.
Another thing I had against this movie is it never really felt like they tried to do anything with it whatsoever. It seemed like they just they read the book like, let's just do it, because there's a lot of time, like the whole movie is just pure gray. You know, there's scenes where it's gray, there's scenes where it's too dark, and it's just a boring, flat-looking movie. It seems like they never try to do anything with the cinematography. It seems like they're like, just make sure the characters in this shot, that's all we want to do. So now number 4 is when we start getting to the purely bad movies. These movies are just purely awful from here on out. Straightforward.
There's a pretty decent sized gap between 5 and 4.
It's very strange. It maybe has to do with the fact that maybe we didn't watch enough bad movies, or maybe that's just how it worked out. There's a huge gap between 5 and 4. And that is, we're going to go with Dark Phoenix, the newest X-Men movie.
The last X-Men movie by Fox.
Yeah, other than, there's technically New Mutants. I don't know what's going on with that. It doesn't matter.
We just got a new trailer for that.
Yeah. But Dark Phoenix, this movie, it was really boring. But that honestly was probably the least, like I've seen a lot of people say, they're like, oh, it's a boring movie. But that really was probably the smallest problem with this movie. It decided to do a lot of stupid stuff. Like they had Jessica Chastain's character, who did absolutely nothing in this movie.
Except for spit exposition.
Yeah, exactly.
To explain what the Dark Phoenix is.
Yeah, and the Dark Phoenix character is kind of shown to be there in Jean Grey at the end of, what was it? Apocalypse. Because at the end of it, she she used a Dark Phoenix power. Like you see the fire or whatever.
Yeah, it forms the shape of a phoenix.
Yeah.
It's false. No way. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction. We made it up. We made this one up.
And like, whoa, what was that? Like,
exactly.
Did she have it? Like, nah, I'm gonna get rid of that real fast.
Yeah, completely forget what it is.
Yeah, let's wait until we go in space and stuff like that.
I'll get it back then.
Yeah. Also, another big thing about Dark Phoenix, I love bringing up because it's absolutely hilarious. If you really think about it, X-Men, the first one, takes place in 2000.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that I think it might be like 1992. There's
92.
There's in the 8-year gap that takes place between Dark Phoenix and X-Men, Michael Fassbender turns into Ian McKellen.
Not only that, but the first class took place in the 70s. Apocalypse took place in the 80s, and this took place in the 90s.
Yeah.
They didn't try to change how they looked like at all.
Yeah. With First Class, it would have made sense for them to kind of look like this.
Yeah.
You know, that's a decent amount of time for them to age like that. But they didn't age them at all.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, nobody aged at all. And then 8 years, boom, there you go, all the way out there. It also doesn't make a lot of sense because Jean Grey dies in this, and she's in Days of Future Past.
Yeah, the end. At number 3, we have The Haunting of Sharon Tate. Now, this is another movie like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that's about the murder of Sharon Tate. But this one did it so much more distastefully.
Yeah.
Because, I doubt that any of you are going to see this, but this is kind of set in a parallel universe to where at the end, she doesn't die. She's not killed.
Kind of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, set in kind of a parallel universe where Sharon Tate doesn't get killed.
Right. Yeah. But the thing that I want to get at is that they do that, but then they still show her and her friends getting killed, brutally murdered, because she has a vision of them being brutally murdered, the same way that they were actually murdered in real life. And it's like a 5-minute sequence of them showing that. Like, it's like really brutal. It's like a slasher film, pretty much.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I would love very much to put this at number 1. I just wanted to be a little bit more realistic in how I felt, which movies I couldn't stand the most.
Right.
And I would love for this movie to be number 1 because this movie is absolutely distasteful. It's shameless. It's probably the most shameless movie on this list.
Yeah.
There's 2 movies that I consider shameless on this list, and this is probably the most shameless on this list.
Yeah, and to put it to more perspective, the director of this movie, he directed this movie, and then he also directed a movie about the Amityville murders.
Yeah, but
then,
the Amityville murders one isn't that big of a deal because it's been done quite a bit of times.
Right, but he did this one, and then he just had a movie that just came out this month that was called The Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, which is about O.J. Simpson's wife's murder. And he turned that into a horror movie pretty much, too.
Yeah.
And it's just like he's taking these murders of real people and exploiting them and making bad, cheap horror movies out of them. And it's just really disgusting.
For our number 2, we're going to go with The Lion King. And even though this is number 2, this movie actually probably made me more angry than any movie this entire year. We have an entire video just ranting about it. It's 30 minutes long.
It's one of our most viewed videos.
Yeah, exactly. And because we absolutely hate this movie. This is another movie I was considering putting at number 1, but there's another one that's just a little bit worse than it. And it's also one of those movies I do consider shameless and just a cash grab, because this movie really does not understand what made the original Lion King just so spectacular.
It's pretty much exactly the original Lion King, but they literally took out all the best parts about the original. Like they took out like the Rafiki line. About how the past can hurt, but you can choose to run from it or learn from it. They took out that. They took out a lot of like personality,
especially
of a lot of the
Rafiki.
characters. Yeah, especially Rafiki. Just the CGI, which the CGI is great. They look like real animals, but that was kind of a fault for the movie because the animals couldn't really express the emotions that are needed to convey a lot of the things that happen in the movie.
Yeah, and the voice acting in this movie is just terrible from everyone. Yeah. And I said in the video, I was expecting Beyonce to be terrible because she's a terrible actress. I was completely expecting it. But it's almost like they got Beyonce to act before everyone else. And they're like, oh, crap. We need to make sure everybody's down to this level of voice acting.
Right.
And they were.
Yeah.
She fit right in. Well, guys, here we are for, oh, man. Here's something else. Here is our number 1.
Yes, we saw this movie.
Yeah, we did. And believe it or not, it actually did exist. Whenever you read online, it wasn't just a lot of people coming from some mental hospital online talking about something random they imagined. This is actually a real movie.
It wasn't just for the memes.
Yeah, it was actually a real movie. And we saw it. And like I said, this movie, I would love to put Lion King over this movie as number 1 because I hate Lion King so much. But this movie is just so bad. And it went with this direction of CGI that I really don't understand why they even thought it was a good idea from the first place.
Yeah, I know.
It's probably one of the biggest mistakes in all of cinema history.
Right, it's a very terrifying
or
mistake.
One of the best decisions in cinema history.
Because at least we can laugh at it.
Yeah, because honestly, if this movie didn't have the CGI that it had, I don't think anybody would talk about it because it's really boring. Other than the CGI, it's decently boring.
The story is non-existent. It's there, but it's very thinly there.
Yeah,
it's like they had a collection of songs and they had to like sprinkle in a little bit of story just to vaguely connect the songs to each other, so it's not just a bunch of random songs.
Jennifer Hudson's the best thing in this entire movie, but she honestly tried way too hard.
It's like she thought she was gonna get an Oscar for this movie.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about this movie, but I don't think anybody talks about the dancing cockroaches, the human dancing cockroaches, and the children mice that are forced to dance for Rebel Wilson's character.
Yeah, and Rebel Wilson eats some of the human cockroaches.
Yeah, while they're dancing, he's like throwing them in her mouth, and it's It's really disturbing. It's one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life. This entire movie.
Yeah, and then like some of the cats are magic. And
Yeah, don't bring up that song.
yeah, a lot of the songs are not a lot. There's like only like 2 that are like really catchy. Especially there's one called Magical Miss.
Yeah, I was at my job one time, and I work at a Texas Roadhouse, and we're like really busy, and I'm like doing this, and all of a sudden I'm catching myself singing Magical Mr. Mistopheles, right. like to myself. I'm like, what in the world am I singing this song for? Also, I can never look at like Idris Elba the same, because there's times when he's not wearing clothing, and you feel and you know you're not looking at him naked. But there's a part of your mind that makes you think you're completely looking at him naked, Ian McKellen naked. Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous.
And also, on the other side, it's kind of scary because like there's some actresses who are attractive in this movie, like the main girl, Taylor Swift, and it's just like you can tell the actresses or some of the actresses are attractive, but they look so much like cats. You're like telling your mind, like, no, they are not attractive.
Well, guys, I think that's gonna be it for our list. I think it's gonna be it for it. That is it for our list. This movie, this year, great year for movies. We just had to put those out there because there are some pretty bad ones. Just get ready because most likely next week. If not next week, the week after, most likely next week, we're gonna start putting up our best movies of the decade videos. Yeah. And that's honestly, I need to start working on this list. It's a really hard list to put together.
Yeah, because we're trying to do 100. We're gonna split it up into probably like 10-ish videos, like 10 picks in each of the videos. So it's gonna be a pretty big list.
Yeah, so go ahead and make sure to watch out for that.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2 Awesome Men, which I'm going to try to be more active on. I haven't posted any of our reviews since like The Lighthouse.
Thanks for interrupting me. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see us later.